Hey beautiful people, and welcome back. Just as there are different types of laws, tort law, criminal law, civil law, contract law, trust law, international law, statutory laws, ex post facto law, etc., etc. There are also different types of defense. There are different types of jurisdiction. When it comes to rights, there are different types of rights. We all have rights, but do we really know what they are? When they tell you confidently, when municipal entities and employees tell you, well, you better know what your rights are, they're letting you know that there are different types of rights that you can invoke. And here are some of them. If you say you're a private man or private citizen, then you have something called private rights. In the United States, a private right is one that a private citizen can vindicate and law can enforce. Compared to public rights, a citizen must be able to show that they have, quote, sustained or is immediately in danger of sustaining some direct injury in order for you to invoke private rights. This is the qualifying factor. The injury that you have already sustained or the immediate danger of injury. Hence, an injunction to prevent it, aka equitable relief. And not that they suffer in some indefinite way in common with general people, meaning all laws are specific. And because all laws are specific, the rights that go along with those laws must be specific also. You must have evidence. And they went over that in the case law, Frottingham versus Mellon. What is a private citizen? A private citizen is someone who does not have an official or professional role in a given situation, meaning you're not a public servant. What is a public right? Public right, as compared to private rights, belong to citizens but are vested in and vindicated by political entities. Public rights cannot be vindicated by private citizens. A right must normally be a private right to be vindicated in court. Meaning, in order for you to state a claim to which relief can be granted, it must be a private right. Meaning, laws created to hold public officials, to regulate public officials' activities, do not apply to you. Therein lies the loophole of codifying the slip laws, the general laws, the common laws, the session laws of your state. Therein lies the codification of the public laws and the statute at large on the United States level. Because the primary law that was initiated to hold them liable, which all other laws extend out of, is the Constitution. They've done their best to amend it over and over and over, starting from the 11th Amendment that speaks about sovereign immunity, all the way to the rest on the United States level. And on the state level, they constantly recreate new ones. That's why you would see some states have Constitution in the year 1818, and then another one in the 1870s, and then another one in the 1900s, and then another one in 2001, and then in 2020. They keep trying to create loopholes within the foundational principle that's meant to hold them liable, which is the Constitution. And they are doing the same by creating other types of laws, private laws, as an extension of the common law of the state, by codifying it as an extension of the public at large. On the United States level, by creating the United States Code. You see this dynamic? That is what differentiates a private right compared to a public one. They even tell you blatantly, a distinction can be made between criminal rights and a private right. Arguing that, meaning with criminal rights, if you cite in 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, it's not giving you a private right of action. Arguing that restrictions against ex post facto laws, meaning those things that they've compiled together and they're calling them laws, like the video that we went over regarding the difference between the statute at large and public laws, arguing that restrictions against ex post facto laws were not designed to protect citizens' contract rights, aka 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 42 U.S.C. 1983, does not protect you any right and does not afford you the private right of action. If you're still in doubt, the case law Duger versus Cullen, 1985, lets you know blatantly, word for word, that your 18 U.S.C. 241, 242 does not afford any private right of action. Why? Because of these basic principles that we've just simply went over. It tells you, plaintiff's complaints state that his action also arises under Section 241, 242 of Title 18. Section 241, 242 relates to deprivation of civil rights. However, there is no private right of action under any of these statutes. Title 18, Section 241, 242 relate to deprivation of civil rights. Meaning this civil rights is a statute that does not afford private right of action. The civil right that people speak of is under 18 U.S.C. Part 1, Crimes, Chapter 13. It talks about civil rights, conspiracy against right and deprivation of rights. And they're letting you know that there's a distinction between criminal right, Title 18, crimes and criminal procedure, and private right, which is what you ought to be looking into if you want to hold anyone liable. This is another gray, subtle area that no one has been talking about. You want to hold people liable, you want restitution, which is an equitable relief, you want to be restored, or you want to prevent the sustenance of some direct injury by invoking equity and injunctive relief, or you have already been damaged. The damage has already been sustained, so you seek a relief, right? But letting you know that there are restrictions against ex post facto law, aka civil rights. And you can see that in the last video with the statute at large being converted into statutes, codes and statutes being compiled into statute, and the fact that those codes and statutes are not enforceable. They're prima facie, just on its face. They're not substantive. By virtue of that, they're after the fact. Ex post facto law is a law that retroactively changes the legal consequence of action that were committed or relationship that existed. The relationship that existed is the fact that it's legally enforceable, which naturally will be the general laws, session laws of your state. On the federal level, it will be the Public Act, the statute at large. But the moment that it is compiled into codes and statute, it becomes an ex post facto law. It becomes after the fact. Because that codes and statute are after the original thing that you created. And all constitution in the state or federal level lets you know that Congress shall not pass any law regarding ex post facto law. And on a federal level, the state and federal constitution lets you know in Article 1, Section 9, that no bill of attainder or ex post facto laws shall be passed. So if the slip laws, the general laws, the session laws, and the statute at large that the Congress naturally pass are after the fact being converted into United States codes or the compiled statutes of the state, you have effectively changed the consequence of the action and the intent of that law and the relationship that it has to you. Hence, it's not designed to protect your rights. And we know everything is contract. So if you want to hold anyone liable, you need to invoke your private rights. And your private rights are not in USC codes. Learn them, study them, know the dynamics, and throw that thump. But when it comes to you using it to seek relief, that's not the way. Case law tells you that. The definitions in Black's law tells you that. So stop for a moment and ask yourself a question. Whenever you want to invoke a specific right, are they private rights? Are they criminal rights? Are they public rights? Are they civil rights? Whatever category they fall under, what specific type of law is carrying that body of right? What is that body of right leans on, rests on? And from there is where you'll be able to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Best of luck. Hey, just a quick reminder. Don't forget to check out the Patreon page. There you'll find documents that been used personally successfully and other deeper details on how to actually use these things beyond what they are, who's involved, and why. Only so much can be said on YouTube platform. And a lot more details and things people are seeking and they can't find, or things they seek and are not too sure about. And if you yourself have any specific questions or any specific topics that you want to hear about, learn about, then the Patreon page is the place. You can directly message me and let me know, and if I know about it, I'm more than happy to share it with you. If I've done it before, I'll be even more than happy to share it with you. All right, take care.